out and got going again, but another off, watch this, just gets it all wrong and bounds over one of those pylons. The 86 Spiker was in the top 3, in fact in second at certain points, has now retired. The LNT Panos, number 81, has just stayed with it and is now up into the second spot in class, but the 83 Cycle Motorsports entry, the Porsche, has been there almost all race long, a great effort. And then we go to the P2 division for the number 30 Velta Racing Peugeot. They have had a big day in terms of events. First of all, this one, and you'd think, wow, it can't get much more wild and spectacular than that. Well, wrong. 16th hour, look at this. And I mean, a huge conflagration. Went to put it out, it would reignite. They put it out, it would reignite. It just got charred. Then, of course, the number 37 Courage Ford in the hands of Belmondo, but driven by Yann Clery. Just a huge moment when the right rear tire exploded, bodywork off, hit the barrier, more bodywork, and ended up a bit of a fire of its own, particularly the grass fire behind the number 27 Miracle Motorsports entry with Ian James, Andy Lally, and Macaluso. Comfortably in second, just setting their own pace. They're not as fast as this car, which is the 25 Ray Malik Lola, which has really had it their own way for much of this event. It currently sits 7th overall, so a great effort there. Take a look at our Valvoline race reset. Top 4 right now, and their laps completed. You can see the number 8 Audi, 293, and then you see the differences with that Aston Martin sitting right there, 4th overall. That's pretty amazing. Today on Speed, catch an all-new Speed Test Drive. You can't miss this opportunity to see one of the hottest series of cars to come out of Germany, the BMW M Series. See a true combination of power and luxury. Speed Test Drive BMW M Series today at 1 Eastern on Speed.
Them some hairy cars, them M style.
Oh boy, they are something. They are spectacular.
Also make lovely jackets too. There's John Judd, the tall gent in the on the left there with a light blue shirt on. Comes from Rugby England. Run into him very often at the Butcher's Arms pub at Briars Hardwick.
Well, he's been very busy in sports car racing with the advent and popularity of the Judd engine. But let's get right down to pit lane, where I think Calvin Fish is with a rather special guest.
Very much so, Emerson Fittipaldi. Great to see you here at Le Mans. Now, we're looking at the record books. I believe you never competed here. What are your thoughts on this great race?
Oh, I think so much tradition, so much history here. I regret not to race here. First day was yesterday in Le Mans, and very impressive. Very impressive.
It's never too late, though, Emerson. I mean, you're doing such a great job in the Grand Prix Masters Series. How about coming back here next year?
Well, I never can say I'm never going to do it, but I'm looking for the next race of Grand Prix Master, August 13th, and I have to challenge Nigel this time. It's not going to be easy in England for Nigel.
That's going to be a great one. Certainly there'll be a huge crowd on hand for that one. Talk about that series. I mean, it's really just rekindled that fire that I know always exists in yourself.
There was so much enthusiasm, and in one way, so much friendship outside of the cockpit. But when you close the visor, it's exactly like it used to be. A lot of racing, a lot of challenge, everybody goes for.
Obviously, Christian is here this weekend making his debut, and Max Papps, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but he's your son-in-law, married to Tatiana, and you're going to be a granddaddy soon.
Yes, Max doing a great job with the Corvette, and he's going to be a father soon. I'm looking for to be a grandfather for the 4th time.
Wow.
Now he's an Italian-Brazilian boy coming, Marco.
You'll have enough for a soccer team soon. Great to see you.
Tonight's Brazilian-Australia.
I know. We got our mate Lee Diffie up in the booth. He's from down under, so we're going to have a few beers and watch that one.
Be good.
Great to see you, mate.
Thanks.
Well, I tell you, with that Grand Prix Masters, he's feeling the old Formula One fire so much, the mutton chops are coming back.
The mutton chops are coming back, and you notice how Calvin had to stand well apart then, because that was sort of the battle of the noses going on there.
I wasn't going to go there, but I'm glad you're in the booth to help us out. Number 64, second in the GT1 division, and 5th overall right now, makes its way down into pit lane. Oliver Gavin behind the wheel there. You see the signboard pointing him in. And Gavin, he's been throwing down some quick laps, but just not enough to be able to do anything right now with that 009 in the hands of Pedro Lamy. They are in. And the Ray Gungla-led crew gets to work. And Calvin is run down. Cal.
And it's Olivier Beretta going to jump in, take over from Ollie Gavin. I just spoke to Doug Feehan. He said, well, we cannot run them down on speed, even though we're cutting some great laps. We saw Magnussen running some 351s earlier, which is much faster than they even qualified at. He said, we need them to have some kind of glitch. We tried to make up some time during the yellow flag where they split the field with the different pace cars, and we had a good strategy going there, but just got caught out. We had to top the thing up with oil. But we're going to run hard. But he said this is going to be a tough one to the end. But when we have seen problems with the Astons, that normally happens in the last 3 or 4 hours, this Corvette has run bulletproof all day. The only issue they really had was a right front puncher, which cost them a little bit of time late yesterday. And right behind them, the 009 makes his way out of the pits. So the battle is on. The Aston Martin will be able to see that yellow Corvette right out front of his windshield.
Well, they are very, very evenly matched. Their times are incredible. They're absolutely lockstep for the whole race so far. Sarrazin is now in the Aston Martin after that pit stop, and Beretta, Oliver Beretta, in the 64 Corvette. So they are incredibly evenly matched, and it's just a case of which one is going to have the slightest problem at this stage is going to change the face of the race for them.
There's Henri Pescarolo keeping a very close eye on things in the Pescarolo Sport Pit. To explain what happened, what Calvin was referring to with the pace car deal was when we had the most recent safety car period, they put out 2 pace cars here because the track is so long. For some, and I still don't understand how they do this, they released the second group basically first, got the green before the leaders got the green, and again, it just completely caught out the 64 team. They had planned for it to go as you would have expected it to do, and it just didn't. And again, that caught them out, and they are stuck that lap behind. And in terms of time, even with Magnussen throwing down those awesome laps, it's just not enough to run down a car that's running almost as fast.
Well, of course, they used to have 3 pace cars here. Obviously,
right.
In the first place, they only used to have 1 pace car, but they decided to go on this 3 pace car route. The only trouble with that is it does need some very, very, very good coordination, and you've got to be right on top of the situation before you do that sort of thing. The only trouble with having 1 pace car here, of course, it takes forever to get the field up behind 1 pace car. There you see the damage on the left rear that poor old Johnny O'Connell caused yesterday afternoon, about 20 minutes into the race. Still not looking too good, is it? It looks like it's superating slightly.
Just a bit. Well, they keep getting out that real heavy, super sticky, big, thick vinyl that it does an amazing job at the speeds they're running. But when something's broken like that, it just starts to tear away.
There's quite a lot of drag goes by there, and the old wind. You put your hand out the window of a car at 60 miles an hour, and imagine those bits of fiberglass sticking out in the wind at 200. You get the idea of how much force is playing on that bodywork. Of course, all that drag, you know, I mean, that's horsepower. It takes a lot to drag that stuff through the air. Looking a bit of a desultory look at the radiator there. There's a lot of rolled up rubber on this track now, a huge amount of rolled up rubber and other clag and dust and stones and rocks. And it fills up the matrix of these radiators, which is why I think the 66 car is suffering from that intermittent overheating.
See that little bit of a wiggle there just to make sure, of course, getting on the throttle hard too, but I think they could give it a little wiggle and make sure that all the wheels have located correctly, and they are backing away. Let's get down to our lightning cam, as we call it, down the Peterson White Lightning Pit, as Terry Borcheller has joined us after climbing out of the wheel a little bit ago from the 66 Celine. Terry, first of all, welcome, and secondly, how you doing? We understood that things got a little tough for you physically in the car there for a bit.
Yeah, it's been a long, hard race, but everybody's kind of feeling the attrition, I think. But all in all, our team's done a really good job, and we're real pleased with where we're at right now.
Earlier on, you guys were right there in the hunt. Worked your way up. I believe we saw you in the top 3 for a little bit, and then you've just had little bits and pieces of troubles. What's been unfolding?
Actually, the only real problem that we had was a wheel bearing, the right front. That was pretty much the only problem for most of the night. We also had a brake change that was a little unexpected on the right front also, so maybe that was due to the wheel bearing going. But other than that, we've been moving right along.
This team, which in the past has been a full season competitor with the American Le Mans Series, you really took the opening part of the season off, Jeff Giangrande and the crew, to get ready for this event. And it was just for me, and I've been dying to ask you this, and I haven't seen you. They said that one of the things you worked on was where the restrictors were placed in the inlets and et cetera, and that has all to do with the air going supersonic, but that really has an effect on the engine power, does it not?
Yeah, we've made a lot of improvements, and that definitely was one of them. the Simcoe Motorsports team has just really worked hard over the winter. But unfortunately, with the Astons and the Corvettes racing while they were developing, they're just even better than they were when we left, which that's kind of the way you figured that it would be. But I'm just real proud of our team. I mean, last year we got a couple of poles away from the Corvettes, and you know, hats off to the Aston Martin team and the Corvette guys. They're flying, and their cars are working really well. And but we are happy. I mean, I tell you, this car around this track is just what a ball. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, and that was a question to ask her. We've talked about the David and Goliath scenario up front with the Audis versus the Pescarolo Sport. Well, you guys are definitely the Davids up against the two Goliaths in front of you. So what you've been working on, as you said, you've got to be pleased with it. What are we going to see after Le Mans in terms of any and all appearances with the American Le Mans Series? I'm
not really sure what Jeff Giangrande's plans are exactly. He's indicated to most of us that he will not be running after Le Mans. But, you know, he's got the bug, so you never know. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen.
Well, we sure miss you in the full American Le Mans Series. Great to be able to watch your race here. We hope the rest of the race is uneventful. And as always, just a real pleasure, Terry.
I appreciate it. I'm going to actually be coming to the American Le Mans Series again, running with the Lexus program. So I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know when the cars are going to be finished, but as soon as they are, I'm going to be a part of that program. And,
yeah.
Greg and David, I wanted to say hello to my family, Tracy, my wife, and my kids, Amber, Taylor, and Trenton. I love you guys, and I miss you. See you soon.
All right.
They wish you happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, indeed, Terry, for sure. To all fathers out there, as a matter of fact. And that's going to be interesting. We're looking at maybe one of those Lexus cars running at Lime Rock, certainly by Salt Lake. So that's going to be great. We're going to show you the top 10 overall here. And our thanks again to Terry Borchler for joining us. Welcome back to Speed's live coverage of the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. The car that you're looking at in the screen there is second in the P2 class, the Miracle Motorsports entry, and the one just whistling by it at a fair rate of speed is your overall race leader, Emanuele Pirro, in the Audi, just disappearing out of frame. There is Andy Lally, who sits second in P2. And I think this is really a very good story. They came here knowing, they said, we can't run the speed of the Lola AERs. And so what we're going to do is just almost like back a few years when you'd set a target speed and you just run it and run it and run it and try to stay out of the pits for anything other than tires, fuel, driver changes. And it's worked. They're a few laps behind, but they're second.
Well, of course, that is one of the big differences between the race now and the race then, was that you would set a time in qualifying of, say, like the Audis did a 3:30, and then you'd have the big briefing on the day of the race, and you'd set yourself a time of maybe 3:45. for the first 10 hours, 12 hours, and then if you could step the pace up, then you would, but you would just assume that everybody was going to run into trouble, which of course they did. And I think the modern vehicles are just absolutely astounding when you think the way these Le Mans cars go, Formula One cars revving to like 19 and 20,000 RPM. The last time Michael Schumacher had a mechanical retirement, engine failure, was the French Grand Prix in 2000. That's 140 odd races ago.
It's absolutely amazing, and of course nowadays in this type of racing a lot of it is done near full tilt, but a good program going for Miracle Motorsports. That is Ian James, and he is with Chris Neville.
Ian, you guys had a cracked oil line in the middle of the night, brought you in quite a few different times. Have you gotten that sorted out?
Yeah, it was actually a distorted O-ring, and they managed to replace that. So we were having to stop every 5 or 6 laps, but now we're back on our routine, so that's good.
Now, your routine has just been stay consistent. Don't go and try and chase down those quicker cars. It's really starting to come back to you.
Yeah, I mean, we took a real conservative approach, and we turned the motor real back in terms of power. And at the beginning, everybody took off, and gradually through the hours, they come back towards us.
The RML cars consistently having problems in these last few hours. Are you guys going to be able to run these last few hours just fine?
Well, I'd hope so, but, you know, it's 5 hours. That's like 2 sprint races left, so cross our fingers and we'll see.
Well, they've made up 2 laps in just the last little bit here because the 25 car was in the garage once again with alternator problems.
All right, thanks very much, Chris, and that is exactly what these guys want to see.
Ian has a terrific point now. I mean, here we are, everybody's worn out, completely knackered, and it's sort of the end of the day feeling. And yet we have got, in fact, in front of us still a couple of decent-sized races to go.
That's true. 5 hours and 3 plus a few seconds. So that is a plenty long time. And by the way, Ian James, in 2004, he came over to the States after running some British Formula 3, promptly was Rookie of the Year in the LMP2 division in the American Le Mans Series, won the championship as well, including Sebring. So he knows how to get it done, and he certainly knows how to get it done in endurance racing. And as we watch the Panos, that is second in GT2 right now, undergoing a pit stop. Going to drop it down off the jacks and head out. We will be returning to Le Mans in just a few moments, so please don't go anywhere. "19 hours are now complete in this, the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. 5 remain. As often is said, that's more than 2 Grand Prix. After already running 19 hours, this is an immense challenge. And it is an immense challenge for the 50 cars that started with 3 drivers a car. That's 150 drivers. 19 of those cars are now, as they say, officially abandoned. But there are still plenty on the track and some plenty good racing for you to be following here as we take you right to the end of this glorious event. And while we're throwing numbers at you, how about this? 26 course coverage cameras, 3 different trucks switching it all, a host feed by a brand new company that is provided for the French and that they provided them to the world, including us at Speed, called Interface, and some very tired, very dedicated crew members from all of these different crews. And let's not forget some very talented, dedicated people from both Speed, from Lingner Group, from Woods TV, that are in our trucks making this broadcast possible, taking the world feed and intermixing it with all of the features, all of the tape, and all of the pit cameras. It is an immense operation for the TV crews as well, and we have some of the best here helping you bring us this great coverage. So just a kudos to everybody down there in the trucks that are just doing an absolutely stunning job and have been here for the better part of a week getting it ready.
Unlike a tennis match or a football match or even a Nextel Cup Oval,
yes,
you know, you've got somewhere around about 1,000 miles of cable laid here, plus about 100 satellite dishes. And of course we're going up to these satellites 20-odd thousand miles up and back again and scooting all around the world, and tremendous logistical problem getting one of these shows on the air, especially with a track this long.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, Indy 2.5 miles, Talladega 2.66, here 8.5.
Yeah, out in the country.
Yeah, there you go.
None of it permanently supplied, so you can't leave the cable out there.
Exactly, and you're getting a look there. That Audi whistling by in the hands now of Tom Christensen is 3rd overall and 3rd in the P1 category. The team car, the number 8 in the hands of Emanuele Pirro, the R10 TDI, sits in the lead with Ellery and the number 17 Pescarolo 2nd. There, the 009 Aston Martin is 4th overall, leading in GT1, which I think is remarkable enough. But then you add only a lap back is the number 64 Corvette in the hands of Olivier Beretta, and that is the battle in GT1, and it has been this close.
And only 6 lap back is the 007 Aston Martin, which had that disaster early on about lap 5 when they ripped the oil pipe off the bottom of it. They came in and made a massive change. It was in the pits for some considerable time, and he has pulled his way back from down in 28th, 30th position up to 6th. And still really cranking out some good times.
This battle is just superb, and yes, as you pointed out, never give it up, because one problem up in front and opportunity might just be there for you. And a team that has been just a joy so far in this running, as they always are, especially in the hands of John Nielsen as the Zytec Engineering entry, and he's down in the pits as we watch the 17 come in.
Indeed, Greg, the number 2 car currently in the garage here, alternator problems. John Nielsen, you won here back in 1990, you keep coming back, and this is a noodle car from Zytec. Yeah. How's the day been for you?
Well, I guess, as you say, it's a new car, Calvin, so it's probably a bit too early for Le Mans, but you have to put it into the fire and try and test it and see what happens.
What about your teammates? You got a sort of like a strange trio of drivers here, one relatively a new rookie, coming out of Danish touring cars, I believe. Someone's got a bit more experience as well. So how's the chemistry been with you 3 this year?
That's working okay. I mean, we have a touring car team in Denmark with Team Essex, and we're running 4 touring cars, and we're all 3 drivers from there. So that works fine, and it's been very good. I mean, I'm the old man. I can give them some experience, and they're the young ones, you know. So the mix is very good. We're similar on lap times and so on. So no, that's pretty good. That's nothing wrong there.
Since your win, John, you've had Tom Christensen, your fellow countrymen, have such great success here. That means we see thousands of guys coming over from Denmark. The support is tremendous. What sort of notoriety does this race now get in your home country?
Well, it's mad. It's a very small country, but there's about 30,000 Danish people here, which is mad. So last one must have turned off the light or something. There can't be any left. I started it, and Tom took over, and Le Mans is very big in Denmark.
All right, mate, great to see you here.
Thanks.
Yeah, John Nielsen started it in 1990 when he won overall here at Le Mans with a gentleman by the name of Price Cobb. So,
wow. 1990, is it that long since he won here? Good
it
Lord.
is indeed.
Seems like
of course,
yesterday.
He was the 82 German Formula 3 champ, and the other two drivers, Philip Anderson, Danish Touring Cars, and Casper Elgaard. He actually ran here, if you remember the Panos, in 2000 at the Den Blauw Avis paint scheme on it, so he's got some experience here as well. But John Nielsen has just been doing it forever and doing it incredibly well forever. And by the way, you did see while we were talking to John that the number 17 came in, did a very quick stop fuel, and right back out again, and Eric Ellery stays behind the wheel.
Eric Ellery, who we're watching in a moment, has got some very exciting time coming up, because just before the race weekend started on Thursday afternoon, Peugeot announced they're coming into the race next year, or back into the race, having won it, what, 90, with Derek Warwick and the gang. They're coming back into Le Mans endurance racing with also another diesel, 5.5 litre, V12, 100-degree angle, so it's going to keep the weight. They want to try and keep the weight low. And they're talking about that giving 700 horsepower and nearly 1,000 pounds-feet of torque. And they're coming in with the express intention of winning for Peugeot, which is still, in spite of not being sold in the United States and Canada, are big sellers around the world, especially here in Europe, certainly. Absolutely massive. And they feel that this is going to be the place to go. And of course, Ellery is going to be one of their test drivers. So very nice little job, my boy. You know, test driver for Peugeot.
Not too shabby.
That'll be some good money there, I'll expect.
I would think so. And the one thing in that announcement that they were very, very cagey about was the car. There were no images of it, no speculation.
It's going to be a coupe. It's going to be like a GT1 car.
That's what they're saying. And of course, we're hearing rumors that the ACO here at Le Mans are very seriously looking at, not saying it's going to happen, but seriously looking at, perhaps by 2010, mandating that all the cars here at Le Mans will be coupes, whether it's prototype or whether it's GT-based, they will be coupes. So,
I mean, some of the coupes, you can have a very swoopy looking coupe. I mean, IMSA GT prototypes, you know, 20 years ago were fabulous looking cars, and the 962 Porsche was obviously a coupe, and that was very successful. But there's something about the open car, just, I don't know, it gives you that feeling to look at. You can see the driver, and you feel more a part of the car when you're driving it.
Well, when IMSA then became professional sports car, when they went to the World Sports Car concept, which was the open top, and people were kind of wondering. I was at Sebring when that first one ran, and Derek Bell was coming into turn 3, and I don't remember who it was, came up the inside, and you could so clearly see Derek look over, and it surprised him, and he gave a double take. And I thought, now that's fabulous. You're really seeing what the driver's going through and reacting. I like it. On the other hand, you go even to 98, and that Porsche that won with Alan McNish in 98, and the Toyota GT-ONEs that ran with Rundle, those were awfully nice looking cars. So it is what it is, and I guess either of them is great. Both concepts have tremendous fans.
What have we got here?
What number is this? I'm trying to...
A bit of a poke around underneath it.
It looks like, is this the 16? I can't tell. His leg is right in front of the number panel. Ah, it is the 16. You have the number above the... Yep, it's the 16. So it should make sense. If it was the 17, it would be a big problem since they just stopped. But Collard brings it in, and they were just looking at the... Obviously, they found everything okay, just giving the car a good serious once-over and making sure before they sent him back out once again. And that car has had a bit of a comeback as well, as it has now fought its way back well into the top 10 in the 9th spot right now. So Manuele Collard takes out, and here are your class leaders in our 4 different classes. One of the legendary driver pairings to compete at Le Mans was Phil Hill and Olivier Jean de Bienne in 1958, 61, and 62. That pairing won here. And, of course, in 1961, Mr. Hobbs, Phil Hill did it as he also won a world championship, the first.
Absolutely. Won here, went to Spa in the Formula 1 car the next week and won there as well. So that's the way to drive.
Bit of a different era. Here's a look at some of the notable Formula 1 champions who have come and raced here. Of course, Mario Andretti himself, Damon Hill, Ascari, Stewart, Brabham, Clark, Graham Hill, Phil Hill, and even Michael Schumacher.
He drove that Sauber Mercedes back in the late 80s before he got into Formula 1 and was very, very quick. I remember commentating on his races with young Bob Varsha.
Of course, one of the reasons that we love to have David Hobbs here in the booth with us at Le Mans, because he's got a fair amount of experience here at this track. We've talked about it a little bit, but David, let's go back and take a look at it. First, let's take a look at running those fabulous Ford GT40s here in 1968.
This is 1968 with Hawkins. The race was run in September, and as you can see, the road is just a bit on the greasy side there. There is Mulsanne. Now narrow to see just that earth bank there to keep you away from things. No guardrail. You see down the straight there, not a trace of guardrail inside. I was in the number 10 car. We're all pussyfooting it around here through there. Unfortunately, the engine blew up. This is going back a few years to 1964. That's John Lloyd, who was one of the chief engineers at Triumph in Coventry. I was a bit of a local hero in those days because there weren't a lot of racing drivers around like there are today. And this is me in the 50 car driving with Rob Slotmaker, who was a Dutchman, who was also a skid school specialist. And we won the class in 1964. In 65, unfortunately, he crashed heavily at White House in that same vehicle. There's the old Essex, using the bank as the clipping point down to Terre Rouge, which was much tighter then. And there again, just an earth bank on the left and the trees on the left as well.
I seem to remember watching a lot of this footage on one of the speed shows. It's called Legends of Motorsport. It was, I think, Triumphs at Le Mans.
Well, there's a real living legend there in my own mind. The gentleman in the middle of the picture there, whose name just escaped me for a minute, set up the Hyundai factories in Korea after his working at, he was the managing director of Triumph and went to set up the Hyundai factories in Korea.
And as we take a quick look on our host feed, the number 25 class-leading, P2-leading car, Tommy Erdos behind the wheel of the RML Lola. Let's get down to Calvin Fish with one of the co-drivers of our lead car overall.
Actually, he's just being called. Frankie's got to get his suit on and get ready. Actually, he's got his suit on. Of course, I thought he'd be naked right now, but going to get his helmet on and get ready to go. So we're pushing the envelope there a little bit. As you can see, when you get that call, they don't want to cut it too close. The word came from the pit wall over to the garage. They immediately tapped him on the shoulder, and Frank's going to get ready. I asked him how he was feeling. He said, well, you know, I kind of almost said he was nervous. He's been here many times before. He's won this race 3 times. Certainly been a standout for the Audi team over the last few years where they've dominated sports car racing. But even these guys with all of this experience, they start to feel the nerves at this stage of the game. And the best way of settling him down is to get him behind the wheel. He said that the other 2 co-drivers, Marco Werner and Emanuele Pirro, reported the car was strong, no problems, and he's ready to go.
Of course, he threw the race away for Audi 3 years ago when he was leading and failed to stop for gas and ran out. Went slipping by the pit entry, got himself the wrong side of a lapped car, which was very bad timing, and missed his in slot and ran out on that lap.
The last of his wins came in 02, so it's been a while since he's had a win here at Le Mans, although, of course, he and his teammate, Emanuele Pirro, won the American Le Mans Series Championship last year in their first full season back in sports cars after problems.
We've got
not problems with running DTM, but we've got a problem again. This is that number 2 entry we were talking about with John Nielsen, and once again, that car very, very slow making its way into pit lane, so the problems there continue. You take a look at the consecutive win streaks here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, of course, untouched as Christensen now with 6. But Wolf Barnato,
Wolf Barnato, he won it 3 times, and to be fair to Tom Christensen, Wolf Barnato only ran the race 3 times. To win it 3 times back in the 20s and 30s, to even finish the race in those days was unbelievable, and to win it 3 times.
But of course, you saw the Pirro and Biela stat. They have won it 3 times and did so together. And really, up until last year, they ended up running the German DTM, the Deutsche Touring Masters Championship. And it took them a little bit of time to really kind of get back in sync with racing the Audi sports cars. And they came alive about midway through last season, the American Le Mans Series. and went on to win it. And there you see it, the Zytek Engineering Essex entry is going back behind the wall. So the problems they had thought and hoped they'd solved, they have not, and it's going to be down there. We're going to go down to our lightning cam down in the garage area and welcome Thomas Enge, who of course has just been so impressively and brutally fast here at Le Mans. Certainly, Thomas, welcome first of all. Again, congratulations. Another pole position this year. Just absolutely fabulous. And once again, the Aston Martins are looking awfully good here at this stage, although there's some time left.
Yeah, hello guys. Hello everybody. Thanks a lot for having me here, but I just can't say no to you now. Car was great again, you know, qualifying very fast as all the other, let's say, 4 years before when I took the pole position. But unfortunately, we had a little bad start to the race and we lost a few laps. But now everything goes fine, you know, car is running well and we are just cruising. We are on P3, which is obviously not where we wanted to be, but after the early start drama at the earlier start, it's good.
What did happen to the car then, Thomas, at the beginning there?
Well, there was some kind of late call to the pits, and unfortunately Darren already went by to the entrance of pit lane. So when he got this call, he tried to come to the pits even after the entrance, and he had to cross very high curb, and he damaged some kind of pipe or some piece of pipe underneath the car, oil pipe which goes through the engine. So we were losing call, we have to come in, they have to replace that, and we lost about 5-6 laps, something like more than 20 minutes. And actually at that point the race was over for us to win, unless, you know, people have really big problems. But we were fighting back, and in the evening we thought if we are really fast, we can be on P3 in the morning, and that's where we are now. So now we just need to cruise, you know, till the end of the race without any problems. It's still a long way to go. It's 4.5 hours, isn't it? And it's difficult.
Which I would like to ask you the question then. You're 5 laps back of the 64 Corvette and just 1 more lap back of your teammates that are leading. With that amount of time, 4.5 hours yet to go, at this point, are there any thoughts in your mind of, well, just bring it home in third, or do you keep pushing and doing everything you can just on the off chance that something happens up front?
No, come on, guys. You can see the whole race. Our cars and the Corvettes are very equal, doing very similar lap times. If we start to push more, they start to push more as well. If we back off, they back off as well. So at this moment, I think the cards are in our hands. Their cards are in their hands, and that's it. You know, they are obviously trying. The 64 car is obviously trying to push the 009 car. But you know, to try to make some mistakes. But at this moment, our position is fixed, and we cannot do anything more as we have done until now.
All right, Thomas, well, thanks, and we certainly have enjoyed watching your comeback drive and pushing as hard as you guys have and coming back up now into the top 3. It's always a joy to watch you flinging one of the Aston Martins around as well as your teammates, and congratulations again on your 5th straight pole. That's remarkable.
Thank you very much. See you next time.
You bet. Thomas Enge, of course, not only throws an Aston Martin around a racetrack very well, he gets around an oval pretty good as he runs in the IRL as well. So it's a real treat to have him here. And we're watching our overall leader, Emanuele Pirro, making his way down into the pit lane. And Calvin, I think you're waiting for him.
Yes, we are, and Frank Bieler, his teammate, is waiting also. On this new R10 chassis, the cockpit area is a little bit tighter. And for Pirro and Bieler, it's a little bit more of a struggle to get out than their other drivers. There's also kind of a weird shape to right around the knee, so as you need to lever yourself out of the cockpit. It's very difficult, particularly for Frank. The slowest driver change they do is when Frankie is getting out of the car, and they said if the driver change between those guys goes wrong, it can actually be a full fuel stop and tire change, so you have to be on the money here. We saw a kind of a strange occurrence during the night where the car came in with burner, and Pirro was unaware and caught with his suit off and his helmet not on, and that actually delayed the complete stop, so we had the leader lose time with the driver change a little bit earlier in the event, but thus far looks like routine. Fueling has been done, tires are being done, and Pirro jumps out. They're just cleaning off the rear wing. I don't see any damage. They've got a quick connect oil system on the right side of the chassis there, just topping up one of the fluid levels. Frank Wheeler underway, trying to win his fourth and Pirro's fourth Le Mans victory, and it would be consecutive victories for Werner here if he can make it happen.
And we watch Biela take to the track, and of course this car, this technology has been spectacular. It won right out of the box at Sebring, and when we come back, we're going to take an in-depth look, part one of what the R10 is all about. Tonight on Speed, it's the fastest news in sports. Speed News Sunday is your source for the hottest racing news and information. Whether it's Formula One or NASCAR, Hooters Pro Cup, or AMA Superbike, or Le Mans 24 Hours, Speed News Sunday has it covered. Tonight, 7 Eastern on Speed. Welcome back, and as we were going to break, we were talking about the remarkable Audi R10 TDI, and as it won coming right out of the box at Sebring, and I think it says something very special about what Audi is doing when it is a racing program that in certain ways is leading some of the technology march for environmental concerns. I think that speaks very well for the future of the sport. And a little bit earlier, Andrew Marriott took a look and has the first of a two-part look at Audi Sport developments of their new R10, its turbocharged diesel V12 engine, as well as its chassis.
12 cylinders, 3,500 hours of engine testing, 24 months of development and manufacturing with more than 150 employees. The result, the engine and chassis of the Audi R10 TDI. And one aim, the Le Mans 24 hours. Computer-aided design tools, or for short, CAD, are the main supporting instrument for prototype production. Furthermore, CAD and prototype parts are taken as a basis for discussion, as they are the fundamentals of the actual Audi R10 TDI.
For sure, it was in the beginning the size of the engine, because we decided to design a 12-cylinder diesel engine, and it's from this 12-cylinder, it's much bigger than the R8 engine was. It was an 8-cylinder one, so that was the biggest challenge.
In terms of engine construction, CAD is also one of the main tools. Airflow, performance and torque are all basic elements of any engine. Yet, in this case, we have 12 cylinders and a different fuel. A new challenge for Audi Sport.
Every experience, every development on this engine has to be done by us. It has to be done in time to be ready for Le Mans. And when we have spoken to our partners, technical partners, before we started the development, and we asked them about their opinion about the possibility to do it, they all answered the same. They said, I wouldn't say it's completely impossible, but it's very close by.
1,100 Newton meters of torque, 650 horsepower, 12 cylinders. But one question, will the engine and chassis work as a package?
As everybody knows who has ever worked together with people from the chassis side, they are living in a different world, as engines people are living in a different world. And the big problem is that they have to live together in one world, means in the car. We achieved that in the R8 very successfully, and I think very convincingly in the last 6 years. So I'm very optimistic that we will have a reasonable and the same result with the diesel car or the diesel engine in the car.
Hundreds of small parts will come alive and turn into the heart of the R10, the motor. Others take care of the car itself and the shape of the chassis. Adrenaline drives on both engine as well as chassis construction engineers. In Ingolstadt, the Audi R10 TDI's front end is checked out in detail by the world's #1 automobile club, the FIA, for the first time. These are small steps towards the 24 hours of Le Mans. the task. The nose, or so-called crash box, is designed to protect the driver. And it does. The atmosphere is just as tense in Nicholson. Will the Audi R10 TDI's engine run successfully from scratch? Yes, it does. And this test bench simulates the parts interaction in the chassis. This truly is a shaky experience for the R10's prototype. The damper and suspension of the car is rigorously tested here, a simulation of the strains of Le Mans. The engine test bench simulates the conditions of the racetrack. Electronics and mechanical data of the motor are the focus. Around 3,500 hours of engine tests are conducted on this bench. Longevity is what counts.
The milestones of the project are the milestones we all work for. So it has a big importance in everyday's work. But in parallel to that, we have to prepare all the activities that we want to do with the car. So first we have to bring the baby learning to walk and run. And in parallel, like in the family, you have to prepare it that you have a kindergarten and then you have the school or whatsoever. For the race car, it's the development work on the racetrack and then the first races. But I think everybody lives with this new child because everybody creates it.
But do the engine and the chassis match in a perfect way? That will surely be beyond all doubt.
So we'll have that second segment, the second part of that coming up in just a little bit. One thing you certainly see is not only does Audi have tremendous resource, but a great mind trust and incredible dedication. And standing by with Calvin Fish is one of the benefactors of that great technology, as well as somebody in whose hands it's proving is entrusted. Cal?
Emanuele Pirro. Emanuele, how exciting has it been for you as a driver at this stage of your career to be involved in such an exciting project as the R10?
This is really the question I wanted to have because, yeah, as you say, at my stage, which means translation is 44 years old, but I really wanted to be part of the team when I was told that we were going to compete with the diesel engine. You know, it's such a weird, such a strange thing that I really, really wanted to be. Wow. That was us, and I really thank God that I'm here, and we still have 4.5 hours to go, but all I can say is that so far I enjoyed so much driving this car around here that I will never forget.
Right behind us we see Tom Christensen in the sister car, Emanuele. As you said to me just before the interview, there's a long way to go in this race. We're looking at the sky right now, we see some clouds. A lot of things can happen. You've been here many times before.
You're right. I hope they won't, but you know, in every sport and especially motor racing, you know, you gotta wait until the end, and the reason why you still see a lot of people up there in the grandstand is that, you know, they know, and unfortunately they support our competition, but you know, we are in France and they deserve to be supported. I'm talking about the Pescarolo.
Talk us through it quickly. What happened in the middle of the night? We saw a bizarre situation where Marco came into the pits, he hopped out, looked around, and he didn't see you. What was going on there? Did he come in a lap early, or were you unaware of a pit stop?
No, actually, he was going to go for 3 stints, so they just woke me up for precaution halfway through his second stint, so I had time, you know, to just understand and realize where I was, and just when I was here, there was a full course yellow, so it made a lot of sense to make a full service in the car, and it was here, and I had no helmet, nothing. I dressed up in the quickest way you've ever seen a racing driver dressing up, and I left for almost 4 stints because then we had the gearbox issue. Then I went out again, And then I had a slow puncture almost at the end of my second stint, so I went out with new rubber and another double stint, and yeah, I've been working quite a bit.
Fingers crossed for you, mate. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Let's go down to Chris Neville.
Cal down here with the 62 team mode in Aston Martin. David Brabham, 12 months ago, you looked horrible when you got out of the Aston Martin. This year, a little bit better. Car cooling off this year?
Yeah, compared to last year, it was a lot hotter inside and outside. You know, it's warm outside, but it was hotter last year. And all the improved air ducting that we got done and insulation to get the heat out of the car, it's a lot better this year.
The car was running as high as third throughout the night. You drop back to sixth now. What's going on?
Well, we've lost 6 gear, and we also had a right front shock absorber break, so we had to come in and fix that. So, you know, everything went great till the morning, and then it all went pear-shaped after that.
How much fun is it to be running with Nelson Piquet Jr.?
Well, it's quite funny because my brother Jeff and Nelson Sr. raced against each other in F3. Nelson Sr. obviously won the World Championship in a Brabham, and here I am with Junior. It's quite funny, actually, but yeah, it's kind of cool.
I'll stick with it.
Boy, Le Mans without 6 gear. Ouch, that one's got to be awfully tough. They have a long few hours yet to go in front of them as we show you the top 5 here at Le Mans. We'll be right back. Tonight on Speed, step into a special edition of Wind Tunnel. Dave goes one-on-one with the legendary Dean of Racing Writers, Chris Economaki. Don't miss Wind Tunnel Special Edition, Economaki, eyewitness to American racing history, tonight at 9 Eastern on Speed. Basically, it's a very interesting show. Dave went to New Jersey and interviewed Chris in several different locations to get his take on the past, present, and future of motorsports. Keep in mind that Chris has been reporting on the sport for over 7 decades, and nobody truly has seen more than him. So don't miss that show. It is going to be awesome. And there was the 009 GT1 leading Aston Martin, Stefan Sarthe. Quick stop, back out, and underway. That battle with the 64 Corvette continuing, and now that 007 lurking.
Chris Economaki interviewed me here on the grid when we used to have the running across the road job. 1962, when he was with ABC.
Well, he started off obviously as an enthusiast, became a journalist and writer, eventually became a broadcast journalist as well. And he's just a remarkable story, so tune in on that. Meanwhile, we're going to tune in to Calvin Fish with more on what's going on with the Aston Martins.
Well, it's really a stalemate situation for the Corvette number 64 and that 009 Aston Martin. Just as an hour ago, the Corvette came in, and about 5 to 10 seconds right behind him, the 009 came in. Olivier Beretta stayed behind the wheel of the 64 with his fuel and tires. We expect both the Aston Martin and the Corvette squad will only be able to single stint these Michelins in the heat of the day. So right now the Corvette squad believe that unless the Aston Martin has some kind of problems, they're really going to struggle here to try and get their 3rd consecutive victory with that race car. But the clouds are looming and anything can happen. We've still got over 4 hours to go in this thing, so they're going to keep plugging away and just hope for any kind of slip up by Stefan Sarthe, who's currently driving the 009.
Well, Calvin, shortly before I came back on air, I went on the internet, took a look at the weather report, and they're saying that from you know, sometime this afternoon there's still a good chance of some showers here. So who knows what might be unfolding, certainly, and we're going to be keeping a very close eye on that. And David, you mentioned, you said that running bit about the start. Well, that's how the races used to start here at Le Mans. It became known as the Le Mans start. Cars were lined up echelon style on one side of the track, drivers on the other, and when the French flag dropped, the drivers ran across to their cars, got in them, fired them up, and drove off. But this became a bit of a safety issue after the introduction of safety belt harnesses in 1967, which of course needed to be properly strapped, preferably by mechanics cinched down tight. At that time, when the drivers would run across, they'd hop in, wouldn't fasten the belts, and then they'd try and lock them down when they got on the Mulsanne Straight, if at all possible. Well, here's Lee Diffie with the story of what led to this procedure finally coming to an end.
In 1969, Jackie Ickx raced in the 24 Hours of Le Mans for the first time. Ickx was opposed to the traditional Le Mans start, which he considered to be dangerous, and he slowly walked across the track to his machine instead of running. He locked his safety belt carefully and thus was the last to start the race. chasing the field. On lap 1, a tragic event proved Ick's right. Private driver John Wolfe crashed into a barrier just past White House Bend and was thrown from the car, suffering fatal injuries. He had not taken the time to belt himself in. The Ford GT40 that Ick drove with Jackie Oliver appeared at the time to be an obsolete car, outperformed not only by the new Porsche 917, but also by the older Porsche 908 and others. The 917, however, proved unreliable. Not one finished. The last 4 hours of the race turned into an unforgettable duel between the Ick's Oliver GT40 and the Porsche 908 driven by Hans Hermann and Gerard Larousse. In the last hour, they continuously leapfrogged each other. The Porsche faster on the straights due to less aerodynamic drag, but slower entering the turns due to worn brake pads. Ick's won the race by the smallest of margins ever, despite having started last. He also won his case for safety, as in 1970, all drivers could start the race sitting in their cars with the belts tightened properly.
And of course, the legendary Belgian went on to win, at the time, a record 6 24 Hours of Le Mans, becoming known as Monsieur Le Mans. 3 of the wins were with Derek Bell, which would become one of the most legendary partnerships. Of course, last year, Tom Christensen surpassed that with 7, but
well,
Jackie
he was
Ickx,
very lucky to win that year, because yours truly gained a lap on that first lap crash.
Yes.
And me and Hailwood were a lap in front of Ickx and Oliver for the entire race, until we had a brake malfunction, which I came in and they said, no, we need new pads. And I said, no, it's more than pads, because it suddenly happened anyway. Take all the bodywork off, take all the wheels off, change all the pads, put it all together, still no brakes, come in, take all the bodywork, all the wheels off again. And there was a little hole in the brake pipe where a wheel weight had clipped it. So let's change the pipe, bleed the brakes, blah, blah, blah. By the time we came out, after all that, we were now 2 laps behind, and we had been a lap in front for the entire race. And just like the Aston Martin and the Corvette now, we were all lapping at round about the same speed, so there's no possible way they would have caught up a whole lap back in those days. But there it is. That's the luck of the draw. It's got to go for you. His protest was certainly well taken, but it did cost him a lap right at the start of the race, which could have been costing him the race.
Right. Now, one thing to say about Jackie Ickx was he was not short on bravado. I remember a quote from him when he quit Formula One racing when he said the tires are getting too fat and the wings, the cars stick too much, they're not fun to drive. So obviously bravado wasn't the issue, but at a certain point it's just smarts, isn't it?
Well, he won a lot of Formula One races as well, especially for Ferrari, and won a lot of sports cars in the Ferrari with Brian Redman.
Yep, one of the great drivers of all time, certainly. And we're watching the 007 third in GT1 Aston Martin. We'll step away very quickly. Join us when we come back. Welcome back to the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. Circuit de la Sarthe, absolutely glorious day. Although we are having some clouds building and humidity moving in, and it is easily the warmest day of the event thus far. From Wednesday on, anyway. It was awfully hot here earlier in the week, but this is awfully toasty here right now. And the big question is, as we are coming up to about 4 hours and 8 minutes remaining, is the rain that has been sort of forecast and sitting out there, and we're seeing some pretty billowy clouds moving in, is that going to play its hand? So we'll keep an eye on that, watching the number 72, the Corvette C5R, one of the older Corvettes of the Luc Alphand Adventures team, making a move. We're riding along with our host feed right here, and this is the 009 Aston Martin, the Stevan Sarrazin car, and they've got some great super slow-mo cameras here, and they're just showing them hopping over the curbs. And of course, this is a comparison of some of the GT1 cars and how they're working through the Ford chicane. We saw the 009, we saw the 64 Vette. Now a look at the 007 Aston Martin, and once again, look on either side, all that
there
junk
on the side of the road. My God, all that stuff gets jammed in the radiators. Just look at it there, big clumps of rubber. It gets filled into the radiator matrix and blocks it up, so you got to try and blow it out from the back if you can, if you have to. Because if you go offline, you know, you're committed to going right through it. There are those
clouds we're talking about, and as you can see, they're starting to go well skyward and building up there, which not always the best of signs, especially, as I said, with the humidity that we're starting to feel with it.
Is that cumulus nimbus?
If you say so. Boy, race car driver, analyst, meteorologist, pretty remarkable. And Was that Henri Pescarolo backing out of the awning and looking up at him and wondering what's going to be unfolding there?
Well, of course, at this stage of the race, you can see what the track looks like now. Could you imagine a shower on that? I mean, it'll be as slick as... very slippery.
It'll be very slippery. There's the number 16, Eric Comas, in the Pescarolo Sport entry, and they've brought that car now up to 7th overall, and they were well back, of course, at this stage, and that puts them into the top 5 in class in P1. So they have certainly not given up the good fight here and are continuing to push. Now, here's a question for you: if it does rain, you've got the Pescarolo, which is basically a Courage that the Pescarolo team has done a lot of modifications to it. It's a hybrid car, very lightweight with the Judd 5-liter, and then you've got the Audi with that huge V12, 5.5 liters, and all that torque. What do you think would unfold if we get wet now on top of it? Which car finds a benefit?
Well, of course, the one thing that will remain the same is the tyres. They're both on Michelin tyres, so no one's going to have an advantage there. I would say that the Audi, even though it's got so much torque, bags of torque, it's pretty easy controllable, I can gather, by the way they leave the pits there without doing any wheel spinning. And it's probably got more overall downforce than the Pescarolo, because they've got more power and more torque, so they can carry more wing and still go faster. And I would think that downforce will probably help them in the rain. But both of them are going to be extremely ticklish, because that track will be awfully slippery.
Well, and Henri getting a little help from the old food department right there. But keep in mind, even though they can run it this year, the Audis are not running any form of traction control, because it can only be driven through the engine. It cannot be wheel related, i.e. brakes slowing down or whatever, and they're really struggling to figure out how to do that with the extreme temperatures that the diesel engine runs in. But getting back to the rain story, as we're watching food on display here, and the Pescarolo team enjoying some hors d'oeuvres, as you should in the afternoon. Let's get down to Calvin Fish on what are you hearing from the teams, Calvin, about potential rain issues?
Well, I hate to throw a bucket of water on this story, Greg, but just checked in with the Corvette squad, and they're obviously looking for anything to shake things up a little bit in this race, because they seem to be in somewhat of a stalemate with the Aston Martin squad, and they said they've been checking the weather, and they have a lot of technology, obviously, within this camp, and they said, as far as they can best tell, it should stay dry through the end of the race this afternoon, but there is certainly a lot of clouds in the area, and that may change, so we'll try and stay on top of that story. But right now, the Corvette squad believe there will not be any precipitation this afternoon before the checkered flag. Let's go down to Chris.
Calvin, a little bit of excitement in LMP2 right now. Your leader, the 25 car, having more problems. We noted earlier when we talked to Andy Wallace that they were having an alternator issue because of the vibration that they had throughout the night. They got that taken care of, but within 10 laps, they had more problems with the car. They just came back in. Andy Wallace hopped behind the wheel, and they had to replace all the plugs and also the coil on the car. So more problems for our LMP2 leader. Now, we thought that might be a benefit for the American team, the Miracle Motorsports boys, as they were trying to claw their way back to the top in LMP2. But Andy Lally just brought the 27 machine to pit lane. Big problems there. They just lost 5th and 6th gear and all their turbo boosts. So Ian James right now limping that car around the racetrack. So our two leaders in LMP2, both cars limping. We've got quite a ways to go. Might come right down to the end.
Lost 5th and 6th and all turbo boost. That is not a good sign. That's not a good combo, that, you know.
Oh, boy. Wondering if that car was going to see him, and we got him 3 abreast coming through Indianapolis here. Christensen trying to get by Comas right now, and Comas having none of that. And I talked about the great comeback drive by the number 16 Pescarolo, up to 7th overall, 5th in class. At the end of the 8th hour with its problems, 38th. So just a tremendous achievement. But watch this traffic jam.
This is coming down into Indianapolis at the end of that very fast run down. There's a right-hand sweep, which they've just traversed. Here they are in the Indy corner itself. The Audi looking for a way by. Then he swaps lanes, goes down the inside, but Comas is having none of it. And neither of them are about to make any stupid moves, I would assume, at this stage in the race.
And that was the car that they came up on, was the Cycle Motorsport entry of Lars-Erik Nielsen behind the wheel, leading in the GT2 category. So I'm sure he was a bit nervous, getting sandwiched with things looking awfully good right now. Meanwhile, we continue to watch this battle, although it's laps apart, maybe just for pride right now. The Pescarolo way back in the order, and 3rd placed overall, the Audi of Tom Christensen, as we're closing in on but 4 hours remaining here at Les Arts. Welcome back, everybody, to Speed's live coverage of the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. We are now officially into the final 4 hours. 3 hours, 58 minutes, and 45 seconds at this point. Here's our Valvoline race reset. Audi's first and third in the lead. Audi pretty much running very untroubled for the most part. The number 17 Pescarolo, since an early problem, has been a solid second. We have 7 GT1 cars in the top 12 overall, the highest of them running in fourth. And we have the official abandonments, as you saw as well. There's a look at the 16, and this is some of the action we saw right before we went to break, as Christensen fighting hard to try and get around the 16. Now, the 16 runs 7th overall, 5th in class. Christensen 3rd overall, 3rd in class. But I think a little bit of pride on the issue here, and here comes Christensen. Finally got the run down the inside.
Well, of course, the 16 car,
counters.
If it was a proper team player, would nudge Christensen off the road, but...
And of course, as you would expect, in 20 hours of racing, there have been a few incidents that have unfolded throughout the course